Hello, this is Leela from Miss Leela Pink Journey. Thanks for watching as I sew a couple of face masks, one using sublimation print and the others using fabric. One of the first things I do is I grab my pattern and I fold fabrics together facing each other. This way I can do one cut for many. I don't do this for sublimation print because I need to see exactly what I am cutting. But for fabric, I go ahead and I trace around the pattern, and I'll link this pattern below for you to download and use. After I have gone ahead and traced around the pretty fabrics, I will go ahead and grab a pair of good scissors, or either I could grab the rotary cutter, and I will cut out the pattern to use. Check out the description box below in order to get more information regarding the items I'm using in this video and others. So now that I have cut the actual fabric, I can unfold each of them, and I make sure that I fold the right sides together, fold them into each other, the pretty sides of the pattern, the fabric, and that is the actual pattern that I'm going to link below. I've also cut out a lining fabric, and I've already added interfacing to the front portions of all my fabrics. That's actually a pretty fabric that I picked up, and I'm showing you how half of the actual pattern, equals the full pattern. This is the sublimation print that I printed out. I'm going to sew that one later when I change the actual color of the thread in my machine. So after I fold the right side together here, I'm going to go ahead and fold more. I will sew right down that curve on each one of my folded fabrics, and I'm going to do what I believe they call in sewing a chain stitch. But remember, I'm very new to sewing, and a couple of people who want to learn how to sew thought that they wanted me to share more videos because it comes from a perspective of a person who's not familiar with sewing and who does not use technical sewing terms. I have none in my vocabulary. Really, I just don't. So I am guessing on some of the terms, so bear with me, but I believe they call it a chain stitch. Anyway, I'm stitching without stopping. Let's put it that way. That's what I'm calling it. So I'm stitching a bunch of fabrics so that I don't have to cut and go. I'm just stitching a few fabrics at once, and then I'll cut the pieces of thread after I have many of them already sewn together. It saves me a lot of time. I watched this in a video and I thought it was the greatest. And this is where I'm going to cut some of the fabrics apart. I'm taking the right sides of the fabrics and I'm going to kiss them together, making sure I line up the middle sections as close as possible. When I line them up, I'll grab a fabric clip, and I'll clip the two top tips together, again with the right sides facing each other. Here I'm grabbing my pinking shears so that I can remove some of the bulk off the fabric, so that when I fold them into each other, it'll have the least amount of material as possible without cutting through the threads. I'll do that on several pieces. Then I'm going to place the fabrics together facing each other, the pretty sides or the good sides of the fabric facing each other, and I'm going to clip them right at the tips of the top and the bottom, trying to make sure I line up the sewn portions as much as possible. Going to sew them down the sides, the top and the bottom on each of these. And I'm just going to go through and sew a bunch at one time. And I'm just trying to stay along the curve of that top edge, follow the curve. This is a sublimation print that I designed for Sjogren's syndrome. I'm going to sew this mask this afternoon. So now that I have sewn the top edges and the bottom edges along the way, I'm going to flip this mask inside out so that we can actually see the print. And I am just using my fingers to kind of flatten it out as much as possible. Then I'm going to grab my little chopstick thingy and I'm going to try to get the edges popped out as much as possible before I take it over to the iron to iron it out smooth. It's looking more like a mask now. I'll do this for the other one as well. Flip it inside out and smooth it down as much as I can with my fingers before I take it over to the iron. I'm going to take them over to the iron and steam them. I wanted to add that I do not steam the sublimation prints the way I do the regular fabrics. Now I have elastic here that I've cut to size because I have folded in the casings on each side of the face mask so that I can add those elastics into the casings. I am going to sew along the sides of each of those folded casings. I cut about that much off the little piece I held up. I cut about that much off of the ends. And so now I'm going to sew along the sides. I have this pattern kind of elongated because I really wanted it to go closer to the ears than all the fabrics I've been finding, the patterns that I've been finding. So it's just kind of modified from a whole bunch of different patterns is what it is. Sometimes you just got to take the patterns and make them work for yourselves. And so far this is working. So I'm just cutting all little pieces off that I don't need. And I'm going to sew right along the top edges as close as possible to the bottom and the top of each of my face masks. I will follow the curve along the top and the bottom of each. There's so many different processes on sewing face mask, and I try not to get caught up in what everyone is doing. I just watch videos and try to learn what I can from each one and then make it work for me. Here I am sewing along the bottom of each of the face mask, and after this portion, I have completed my task of sewing a few face masks real quick on screen for you. This is the outcome of each of the face masks. I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to my channel. I will share more videos on what I'm learning about sublimation prints, sewing, silhouette, and a few other areas. Thank you. Have a great day. Stay safe and don't forget to subscribe.